Hello hockey fans, I'm Rick Scarborough and you're watching Blue and White Weekly. The Four Nations face-off is finally underway, with Canada and Sweden as the first two nations to face off. So join us as we take a look at the game with an appearance from a special guest, and get you set for what else the tournament has to offer as the games begin. Before we get into the game, a bit of news off the top here. Prior to puck drop, NHL GM Gary Bettman, who looks like a grown-up version of Alfred E. Newman, announced that 2028 would see the return of the World Cup of Hockey, with 8 teams participating. Pierre Lebrun of TSN confirmed that those 8 teams will all be countries, no mashup teams like Team North America or Team Europe from 2016. Cities will be bidding on the hosting rights, with cities across Canada, America, and Europe eligible to try. The goal is to have international hockey every 2 years, alternating between the World Cup and the Winter Olympics. And now let's get into the game. The Bell Center reached a fever pitch that could be felt on the broadcast as the starting lineups were announced, and Swedish player / Maple Leaf Willie Nylander got the loudest boo out of the Montreal crowd. The captains for Finland and USA were also introduced, and Nylander's boos paled in comparison to the ones received by American captain Austin Matthews. But not long after that, the puck was dropped, and we had our first international best-on-best game between Canada and Sweden since the 2014 Olympic gold medal game, as the two nations did not meet throughout the 2016 World Cup. Not even a minute into the game, and Sweden takes a penalty after a high stick on Nathan MacKinnon, and who's that going to the box? It's William Nylander, and he continues to hear it from the Montreal crowd. The people wouldn't be dwelling on the Nylander penalty for long, however, as just 8 seconds into the power play, a goal came. And hang on, let me savor this moment, because this is a sentence I never thought I would say. Goal scored by Nathan MacKinnon, assisted by Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid down to Crosby at the side of the goal, and Sid has the spinorama no-look pass to Nathan MacKinnon on the far side, where MacKinnon just has to bat that puppy in because Gustafsson has no idea where it's going, and Canada is up 1-0 early. All right, now let me just say it one more time for the people in the back. A Nathan MacKinnon goal off of Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. That is an aggressively Canadian sentence. Would you like it to get even more Canadian? I can make it more Canadian. Let's make it more Canadian. MacKinnon, Crosby, McDavid. Canada, 1-0. For the rest of the first, Canada is in the driver's seat. Sweden didn't even register a shot on net until about 5 minutes in, and it was taken away because it was a cleared puck that just happened to hit Jordan Binnington. With about 7 minutes to go in the period, Seth Jarvis is bringing it through center when he springs Braden Point for a near breakaway, when suddenly every Swede on the ice forgot that Brad Marchand existed. Marchand sends it into the yawning cage, and the hockey world bore witness to something we all thought impossible. The Bell Center on its feet, cheering its ears off for Brad Marchand. A man considered enemy of the state in Quebec was having his name chanted in French, which is impressive seeing as Marchand is already a French name. Fun fact for you that I haven't seen enough people talking about, both MacKinnon and Marchand drilled the net angle cameras on their goals. I don't know why we're being so mean to the poor little cameras. They, must have been American imports or something. The first period comes to a close with Canada up 2-0, and it's here that the story begins to change. Now, I don't speak Swedish or anything, but Sam Hallam and Daniel Alfredsson probably went to the dressing room and told their players whatever the Swedish equivalent of figure it out is. And so with that, the second period begins, and the tide turns slightly, as Sweden's shot counter starts to tick upwards, and so does Canada's heart rate watching Jordan Binnington deal with all these close chances. And our fears were confirmed at the midway point of the period when Jonas Brodin finds his way past Binnington on a weird one through traffic, and Sweden is on the board. Later in the frame, with just over 2 minutes to go, Crosby, MacKinnon, and Mark Stone, who are Canada's second line, by the way, which is just silly to think about, break out through center, with Crosby finding Stone, who is noticeably not on LTIR for once, in the slot to fire it home. Crosby now has his second assist of the game to put Canada back up by 2 as we head to the locker room. Unfortunately, in the second period, Canadian defenseman Shea Theodore took an awkward hit into the boards and left the game. Team Canada has since confirmed that he will not be able to play for the remainder of the tournament, and his regularly scheduled club, the Vegas Golden Knights, have announced that he is out week to week with an upper body injury. The third period would belong to the guys in yellow as they outshoot Canada 10-6 through the final 20 minutes of regulation, tying the game up with goals from Adrian Kempe and Joel Eriksson Ek. And the opening game of the Four Nations face-off is heading to overtime. Now, the Four Nations face-off follows NHL rules in almost all aspects except for overtime. For this tournament, overtime remains 3-on-3 but lasts for 10 minutes instead of the usual 5 before we head to the shootout. Additionally, the point system has been changed. Here, a regulation win earns you 3 points instead of the usual 2, while an overtime win gets you those 2 points, and an overtime loss gets you 1. Overtime brought us a nail-biter, with both teams getting good looks and going well into the extra 5 minutes that this tournament affords us. With 4 minutes remaining before the shootout began, Sidney Crosby leaves a drop pass in the neutral zone for Mitch Marner, seen here as a young boy taunting his future opponents, who carried it over the blue line and, for once in his life, shot the puck instead of passing. And all of Canada is glad he did. Mitch Marner is the overtime hero, and it's really weird seeing a Montreal crowd cheer for him as Canada takes down Sweden in Game 1 of the Four Nations face-off. And despite the storm that hit Southern Ontario yesterday, our junior intern Gillsy decided to watch this game at Boston Pizza of all places, where I'm told he was joined by a special guest. For more, we go now to Gillsy. What's going on, dudes and dudettes? It's your boy Gillsy, and I'm here with Blue and White Weekly, and we're joined by a very special guest from LFR's Steve Dangle podcast. It is SDPN's Steve Dangle. Steve, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
So, we've just witnessed Canada versus Sweden in an overtime nail-biter. Give us your thoughts in 5 to 10 words on that game.
Everyone chirp Marner.
Yep.
Marner called game.
Jeez,
Go Canada, go. Hooray.
You'll have to see it. Now, one more quick thing from you. I was lurking on Twitter earlier, and
Terrible place to do it.
terrible place to do it. But, you know, there's some funny pieces of hockey merch out there. I saw at the Fan Fest in Montreal. This, I don't know if you call it a crew neck, a sweater, something. What do you think of that? Would you wear that?
All the Four Nation face-off jerseys are so sexy. All the merch that they made is so sexy.
I mean, look at that. Look at that jersey.
Death penalty.
Death
Lethal
penalty.
injection. Electric chair. Solitary confinement. Bottom of the ocean. Absolutely not.
There you have it, folks, from fashion critic Steve Dangle. Steve, thank you very much for doing this, sir.
Thank you.
Back to you in the studio, Rick. Holy crap. We got a real interview for once. In all seriousness, I'm still kind of shocked that that happened. That is a very exciting moment for us here at Blue and White Weekly, and a very special thanks to Steve Dangle for taking the time to do that. That means the absolute world. Thank you. Looking ahead to the rest of the tournament, Finland and USA get started tonight, Thursday night, before all the teams take a break ahead of an action-packed Saturday. In the afternoon, it's the Battle of the Scandinavians as Sweden and Finland go head-to-head. Then in the evening, it's the highly anticipated heavyweight bout between Canada and USA. And there's still plenty more games next week, so keep it locked here on Blue and White Weekly, because we'll have all those games for you next week, plus so much more. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, go Canada, go. We'll see you soon.